From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the news at 10, live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight,
Bimbo Oloede.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, university lecturers shun federal government's back-to-work order, insist they can't be cowed. Suspected Boko Haram members attack military installations in Maiduguri, Borno State. 24 insurgents killed. APGA's Willie Obiano gets INEC certificate of return as governor-elect of Anambra State. And Thai Prime Minister rejects protesters' demands that she steps down.
On business news tonight, Nigeria presses for more foreign direct investment, moves to consolidate trade relations with Spain.
And on sports news tonight, Manchester City's midfielder and Côte d'Ivoire's Yaya Touré wins African Footballer of the Year, presented by the BBC.
I'm Linda Akibe from Abuja. President Jonathan and service chiefs discuss terror attack in Borno State. Not jolted by the back-to-class order of the federal government, the Academic Staff Union of Universities today fired back, calling the bluff of the sack threat by the presidency. Responding 4 days after a 7-day ultimatum issued by the supervising Minister of Education, Mr. Nyesom Wike, the union described the threat as political blackmail and maintained that it would not be cowed. Our correspondent, Gloria Umezioke, reports.
This is the first of meetings after a long silence from the leadership of the Academic Staff Union of Universities. The invitation to the news conference appeared to be a promising sign that the lecturers would return to classes, but that was not the case.
We have noticed with disgust how easy it is for ministers and governments to take refuge in political blackmail. We shall never succumb to this. Our country is our union's constituency. We shall bow only to what we as academics are convinced will serve the interest of Nigeria and its people.
The union said the parties had struck a deal with the president on the 4th of November, but it has simply added clauses that would guard against failure of implementation.
ASU's invoking of the non-victimization clause, rather than being an introduction of a new demand, is a commonplace ILO position, which government ought to know. Our members are suggesting that the 200 billion naira agreed upon as 2013 revitalization fund for public universities should be deposited in the Central Bank of Nigeria, as mentioned, and disbursed to the benefiting universities within 2 weeks. Of the 52 branches of ASU, 48, that is roughly 92% of the membership of ASU nationwide, advised conditional suspension of the strike, i.e., suspending the strike only if certain conditions are met.
For several months, the lecturers had their salaries stopped, but that would not deter them. They said they are convinced that the federal government knows the right thing to do, and once that is done, it would not hesitate to call off the 6-month-old strike.
If this agreement is implemented as it is, within 3 to 5 years, we are going to see Nigerian universities competing effectively with their peers in Africa, in Asia, and to some extent, although it's also in the Western world.
So clearly, the two parties have not provided a final sticking point to resolve the crisis, but ASU is beginning to think that this has become a political strike that can be put to rest only by the federal government. Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
The university lecturers are clear in their pronouncement. The government cannot cow them to return to the classroom. This will be clearer on December the 4th, when the deadline to ASU is expected to expire. Well, we'll be joining our Abuja studios now, where Linda Akigbe is getting the presidency's reaction to this latest development from ASU. Hi, Linda.
Hello, Bimbo. And for the presidency's reaction, I'm being joined by the senior special assistant to the president on public affairs, Dr. Doyin Okupe. You're welcome, Dr. Okupe.
Good evening.
Now, Dr. Okupe, you've heard from ASU members, and they say they refuse to be intimidated. Did you expect such a response from them?
In the first instance, the reaction of the ASU is quite unfortunate, really. Nobody is intimidating ASU. And as to what one expected, it's not just from the government perspective, from the national perspective, from the perspective of the students, from the perspective of parents. You know, many people feel that this thing has gone for too long. And no matter the circumstances, one did not expect this sort of this display of defiance and militancy is not going to get anybody anywhere. That lives are involved, the destinies of children are involved. We do not expect the leadership of ASU, you know, to have come out the way they have done today. It just shows unnecessary belligerency. This is not what Nigerians are expecting.
Now, the 4th of December is the federal government's deadline today. How would this be enforced?
Well, the issue is on ground. Government has given an issue that all universities should be opened and the lecturers should return to work. The good news is that as of today, about 6 universities have agreed to, have actually reopened. So I believe that before the 4th of December, quite a lot more universities will join it, and I think the leadership of ASU will be isolated, and it will be quite clear that we are pursuing just a personal agenda or a private agenda.
Should many other schools not join these 6 universities, how would the federal government's deadline be enforced?
I do not believe, we're talking of, I'm a product of the university myself. I studied medicine in University of Ibadan. I know that lecturers are intellectual and very cerebral people. Just because they're being represented by some minority, militants and all that does not mean that the overall majority of those who constitute ASU themselves, mind you, are in the same on the same page with them. Mind you, at the meeting, quite a large number, a majority of the chapters actually voted for return to school.
Yeah, but many of the lecturers are saying that none of the agreements reached with them have been implemented by the federal government.
That's not correct. That's not correct. This government, I don't know what has happened before now, but since they engaged with this government, discussions have gone at various levels: Labour, the Minister of Education, the Vice President. Now, for the first time, since 2009 that this thing has been going on, or even before 2009, this thing has been going on. This is the first time a sitting president sits, with Labour, with ASU, and takes his time to go through the whole gamut of the negotiation, and an agreement was reached. And when the agreement was reached, it was suggested to the leadership of ASU, which they are not talking about now, that look, this agreement that we have reached, shall we put it in an agreement format, and we sign it here? But ASU cleverly or mischievously turned that offer, all right, and now said that what they require is just a letter of intent, a letter of comfort from government about what it will do. So the government actually gave them the letter of comfort that they actually asked for, and this was the same letter that they took to their chapters, and the chapters voted in favor. Now you now come back now, the agreement which you refused to start with, now said you now need agreement. Doubting the sovereignty, the integrity of the sovereignty of the country, undermining the presidency, and really clearly an attempt to really subvert the government. This is what we see in this matter.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Okupe. Now, Maiduguri, one of the hotbeds of the insurgency in the northeast, is once again on lockdown. The Borno state government today announced the imposition of a 24-hour curfew on the capital city and its environment following an early morning attack on the state capital by suspected members of the Boko Haram sect. In a statement issued by the secretary to the state government, Baba Jida, the government pleaded with residents to remain calm and be law-abiding until the situation is brought under control. The statement adds that only vehicles on emergency calls and essential services are allowed to move during the period, as a curfew will be lifted as soon as the situation improves. Reports say the dreaded Islamic sect, the Boko Haram, in the early hours of today, launched a ferocious attack around the airport area and some military facilities, killing scores of people. Meanwhile, President Goodluck Jonathan has held an emergency security meeting following the Maiduguri attack by suspected Boko Haram terrorists. Present at the meeting were the National Security Advisor, Colonel Sambu Dasuki, retired, the Chief of Defense Staff, Admiral Ola Saad Ibrahim, Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Azubike Ihejirika, and Chief of Air Staff, Air Vice Marshal Alex Bade. There was no official statement at the end of the meeting, but the Chief of Defense Staff said the situation is being managed.
Thanks,
and that's
Linda.
all from Abuja. Back to you, Bimbo.
Thank you very much, Linda.